Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, earlier this week I posted a video of my front yard renovation, and I just wanted to take a second to just say thank you to everybody who watched that and reached out and given me some love and compliments and everything. Greatly appreciated. I have people all the time who are asking me grass questions of I want tips on my lawn, I want to redo my lawn. How can you help me? And so I just wanted to make a quick video today talking about sod install and just kind of renovating your yard as far as the process of what I went through with the grass and whatnot. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, am I in this to do it for the long haul? Okay. If you're going to do this, do it right. If you're somebody who doesn't want to do any sort of landscaping, or you don't want to put the water down or the resources, I recommend not doing it at all. Don't have grass, because it is time consuming. It does require work. It does require water, so on and so forth. So just make sure that if you're going to do it, that you're in it for the long haul. Okay. If you're going to do it and you're going to do it right, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have your soil, prepared right. So if you're removing existing material, that's great. Make sure that you remove all of the existing material that you can get your hands on. Okay. Make sure you try to get the existing roots, so on and so forth. If you don't have anything that are existing, great. Make sure you have the right soil though. Okay. You need to rototill. Okay. You need to till that dirt up, that soil. You need to get it loose. Okay. And you need to get it prepared for the sod. Okay. So if you don't have access to a rototiller, you can rent one. I think they're about 40 bucks a day. I have one, so I don't have to rent them. I've rented other big pieces of landscape equipment in the past, and it's been roughly about $40 for a day to use. Try to see if you have somebody that you can borrow one from, and so on and so forth. But make sure you till that dirt material 6 to 12 inches, at least 6 inches deep, and get all that tore up. If you don't have good existing soil, that's the foundation for all your success. Okay. Every single sod job that I've ever done, I've amended my soil. Okay. If you're someone here local, there's a place out in Oxnard that I use. It's called Agrement, and they have a material that I always get a load of that stuff, and I mix it into my existing soil just to kind of amend that and loosen that dirt up and make sure I'm setting up for a foundation of success. If you're not local, you probably can find something similar. Okay, so getting your soil amended, tilled, okay, and prepared, and preferably as level as possible. Okay, it doesn't need to be like laser leveled or string grade leveled. I get mine as flat as a bowling alley. You don't have to do that, but you don't want to have big dips and craters and holes and things that are gonna like puddle up and whatnot. Okay, so try to get it as flat as possible. It also cosmetically looks a lot better as well, and for the long haul, you're gonna want to get that flat. Okay. I know a lot of people who will put down starter fertilizer before they put the sod down. That's probably fine. I don't personally do that. I'll use a starter fertilizer post-sodding, which I'll get to here in a minute. But as far as the sod process itself, okay, the number one, or the top things that I can tell you is, one, make sure that you get that thing installed as quickly as possible off of the truck so that it doesn't dry out. You don't want that sod to get dry. It'll shrink. The seams won't match up correctly. You want to get water on it as soon as possible. Okay, so getting those seams, okay, up firmly against each other, not just like touching, but really like press those seams together, is really going to help long term as far as those seams kind of rooting themselves into each other. Okay, so that's my best tip as far as that. If you're not going to roll it, if you can tamp it, you want to get that sod touching the soil and as firmly pressed against that soil as possible. My front yard, I actually used the tamp, and I tamped it in really good because it was a smaller area and it wasn't going to require a bunch of time. Just a regular landscape roller is perfectly fine as well. I used my landscape roller on the back. And then, like I said, the best thing is to make sure, the best tip that I always got was to make sure those seams were firm. Okay. Water, 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 water. Okay, do not let that sod dry out. Okay, for 2 weeks, that thing needs to be wet. All right. Go into it mentally prepared, knowing that you're going to have a big hefty water bill the first month, and just don't be stingy with it. Okay. Make sure that thing establishes, and that thing needs to be wet all the way through to being rooted, okay? So don't go short on the water. I went away for a couple days, left my wife in charge of the watering. She did a good job. However, she did make the comment. She's like, well, I didn't want to drown the grass. You can't drown grass, okay? Those first couple weeks, put more water on it than you probably think you need, all right? So after I've got the sod down, I'm watering it in. I'm definitely going to put down a starter fertilizer. Sometimes I'll put it down the same day that I put the sod down. I think with my front yard, I didn't have any on hand, so I think I waited like a day or two after, which is totally fine. It doesn't really matter. The thing is make sure you get a good starter fertilizer, okay? If you go to a big box store, I'm not trying to knock any of the big box stores or knock any specific brands specifically, but a lot of times you'll get some of these big, commercial brands that you've heard of, and they might not be the best quality. What you're looking for in a starter fertilizer is you want a fertilizer that's going to be really high on phosphorus and potassium and not have a lot of nitrogen in it, okay? That nitrogen is going to stress those roots, and a lot of times you'll see a lot of fertilizers that you get in a big box store that are going to have a lot of nitrogen in them. I did a whole different video on fertilizers that I'm going to try to not talk about too much in this video. I actually need to redo that video. The quality on it was pretty bad, but let me know if you have any fertilizer specific questions aside from this video, okay? What I use specifically is I use a 6-24-24, and I don't want to explain exactly what those numbers mean, but those are the numbers of the macronutrients. I buy that at Ewing Irrigation. If you have a Ewing Irrigation local, that's great. That's a good resource to get a good fertilizer. It's going to be about $30 a bag. I know Ewing Irrigation's all along the West Coast, in Arizona, etc. But if you don't have a Ewing Irrigation, check out a farm supply store or something that you can get a good solid fertilizer that's going to have phosphorus and potassium in it. Okay, the phosphorus is really going to help that root development, and that potassium is really going to help with the disease prevention and all that other good stuff, and help with the health of the plant. Okay. But I can't stress that enough. If you just go get a generic fertilizer that has a lot of nitrogen, you're going to do a lot more harm than good, okay? I know a lot of people who will soil test, do an actual test of their soil before they even lay down the sod. I don't personally do that. I think it's just a little bit overkill. I'll probably do a soil test maybe 6 months a year in, just to kind of see where I'm at and make sure that I'm good levels on certain things, but not necessary for most people. Okay. After you've kind of got that starter fertilizer on and you've been watering like crazy, stay off it. Be patient. Okay. A lot of people, they want to go up and start tugging on it, see if it's rooted in, right away too early. Just let it do its thing. Okay. And also keep people off, keep like pets and stuff off of it. Okay. If you're like have a pets and stuff, which I understand, obviously it's their yard, try to rope that area off for as long as you can, and let them go to the bathroom somewhere else and stay off that traffic. Okay. At approximately 2 weeks, and that's going to vary depending upon your type of grass, your climate, your a variety of different things, such as how warm it is, etc., how much you water. It's a couple weeks in, it should start to root, and what I'll do is you just barely kind of pull up on that sod. Don't yank on it, okay? But just barely try to pull up just a little bit and see if it's sticking, okay? If it's sticking and those roots are kind of grabbing underneath, get the mower on it as soon as possible, okay? I will mow as quickly as I possibly can on that thing, okay? I'm not talking like week one. I'm talking once I know those roots are starting to grow a little bit, okay? Know a lot of people who will say don't mow for like a month after you put down sod. One of the best tips I can give you is get that mower on it as soon as you possibly can, okay? As soon as you notice your grass blades are starting to grow a little bit, okay, that means your roots are growing as well, okay? Get the mower on it as soon as possible, okay? What happens is once you can kind of clip off the top level of that helps kind of generate more growth, and it'll help those roots kind of search down and get down into that soil, okay? Also, once you've got to that process there, I'm kind of skipping ahead. cut down on the watering. Okay, well, week 3-ish, I'll kind of start watering like once a day, and then I'll start even tapering it off more after that. And try to get into a regular watering routine. Okay. Speaking of watering routine, I made a whole different video dedicated just to watering and sprinkler audits and things of that nature. You can check that out if you want, but know how much water your sprinklers are putting out. Make sure you have good proper coverage ahead of time. There's nothing worse than you put down your sod, you pop your sprinklers on that you've done, and oh shoot, that sprinkler head's busted and I don't have a sprinkler head available, or I didn't notice it at first, and then there's areas that aren't getting watered the same or what you're expecting. Okay, so make sure you've got that all kind of ironed out and ahead of time. What height do I mow at? I personally mow it just over 1 inch. I say that because my mower actually measures in millimeters, not inches. My outlet mower is the only mower I've ever had that or seen that doesn't measure in inches. But I think it's like a 30 millimeters or something like that, which is roughly, it's like a setting on my mower, which is roughly like 1.1 or 1.2 inches or something like that. That's the height that I'm mowing my ryegrass at. And if it gets close to 1.5 inches, that's when I'm gonna mow. Okay. Make sure that you don't break the 1/3 rule. What is the 1/3 rule? It means that you don't want to cut more than 1/3 of your grass blade at a time. And that's just what I personally do. I don't let grass grow to 2, 3, 4 inches. I know the whole concept of photosynthesis and all that stuff. The more grass blade you have, the more that's just not the way that I operate or do things. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I mow at approximately 1 inch when I get to, and then I don't let it get to 1.5 inches. Okay. And again, the more often that you can mow it, once you've kind of established those roots, the better. I'm not saying that you need to mow every day, but you should. I think right now I'm mowing about 3 times a week, and it's January right now. Once it gets into the spring and it's warmer and things are going, I may even increase the mowing even more from there. Okay. What else? What else have I not really covered? Oh, other fertilizer type things with it. As far as timeline. I'm probably going to try to avoid putting a lot of fertilizer on it, especially early on. That's something sometimes I break my own rule with, but I'll probably somewhere around week 8. Actually, to start off, I did put down some micronutrients yesterday before. We were supposed to get super heavy rains. It was supposed to rain like 2 inches. And so I put down some micronutrients in there. It's probably not something the generic homeowner is going to do, but I put some micronutrients down in to get watered in with the rain. Probably somewhere around week 8 or so. I'll put down a triple 15 just to kind of to feed it a little bit, especially because we'll be kind of getting into that spring season. And then I'm probably not going to put any granule fertilizers on it again for a long time. I will put probably some liquid apps and some different things, which, that's a different video and a different level of things throughout the spring and summer and whatnot. But other than possibly boosting once I transition over to Bermuda in the summer, early summer, late spring, other than maybe a little bit to boost that, I'm probably not putting any nitrogen on my grass for a long time. And I don't put a lot of nitrogen on my grass either. Again, that's for probably a whole different video. Okay. Pre-emergence. That's the last thing I kind of want to talk about. I want to kind of wrap this up. I didn't want it to be too long. I know I'm going a little bit long here, but I don't use pre-emergence at all. I know I'm in a climate where if I was maybe in a wetter, colder, different type climate, I may need to use more pre-emergence. I don't use them. If you're going to use pre-emergence, you should wait as long as possible before putting that on a new sod. So pre-emergence is going to kind of live in the top like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of your soil. And if your roots haven't established beyond that, your roots it could really, what's the word I'm trying to use? It could really stress your roots. Okay. So don't put it on sod that hasn't established the roots as much as possible. And again, I don't really use any pre-emergent. The only thing that I'm really worried about and that I'll try to do a little bit to pre-emerge is for POA. I'll use Epithon and Groom, which I'm not going to use on a new lawn. I'm talking year 2. I'll use those products on on my rye to try to prevent POA from popping up. Year one, if it pops up in my front yard this winter, I'm just going to pull it by hand and maybe kill it off in the summer. But I'm not post-emergent type stuff. But I'm not going to put any pre-emergent on new established lawn. Okay. Other problems that sometimes I'll have is like nuts edge type stuff. It's not going to be really a new sod as much. It can pop up there when it gets a little bit warmer. I'll use post-emergent type stuff with that. I use Sedgehammer in the past. Most recently, I use a lot of, not a lot, but I'll use Certainty now if I have that. That's a good application for it. And again, a lot of the little broadleaf type stuff that I get, which I don't get a lot of them, but if I see little broadleafs, I've got a few in my backyard right now, I'll just pull them by hand. And the only time I'll really use some a lot of other herbicides too is if I've like neglected a lawn. Like let's say I haven't been to a baseball field in 6 weeks or a couple months or over summer break or something. I haven't really done anything and there's just weeds all over and I need to get rid of stuff. I'll put a post-emergent on at that point. I've used Speed Zone Southern is the most recent one that I used a lot of, or I don't really use a lot of, that I would use. I've used Drive XL8 in the past. It's worked well for different crabgrasses and things like that. But I really try to avoid, I don't really have to use that stuff a whole lot, okay? So again, I know I kind of talked about a lot there, but hopefully this helped a little bit. Again, be patient. Always ask questions if you have them. I'm happy to help anytime that I can. And hopefully this video helps somebody out if they have any questions about what they might be getting into with a new sod install. Have a good day.